I am thankful that we have national eyes on Seattle, right? From coast to coast, we saw elected leaders from mayoral seats to executive seats and the county level winning positions because they focused on issues of affordability. The number one issue that I hear from residents in King County, in District 8 specifically, is I cannot afford a home. Or as small business owners, I cannot keep my doors open because I don't have workers who are easily accessible that can get to work and back because people are being pushed so far out of the urban centers and there's just not affordable housing for workers here.
This is Hourglass, the podcast for United Way of King County in Seattle. Coming up, a conversation with Teresa Mosqueda, current King County Council member and former member of the City of Seattle Council. Teresa has been a steadfast supporter of United Way programs and services that benefit our community, including our free tax preparation campaign that is up and running at locations throughout King County. In this episode, we chat with Teresa about topics such as the changing landscape of local politics, the county's recent motion regarding funding to federal Department of Homeland Security agencies, and resources county residents can take advantage of to make their earnings go further. We will also discuss an upcoming United Way Emerging Leaders event and a local volunteer opportunity. I'm your host, Joe Burris. Thanks for tuning in.
I want to say thank you to United Way of King County for the free tax prep. I happened to be visiting the White Center Library one day, and your whole team was in there helping people do their tax preparations. And especially right now with so much fear about the federal government, Great. I think it's so helpful to have a trusted community partner in United Way of King County. Do get your taxes turned in. It is a requirement under federal law, but there's also potential help there from the state that United Way can help you navigate.
If there is anyone who understands the changing landscape of King County and City of Seattle government, it's Teresa Mosqueda, who throughout the years has been a steadfast supporter of United Way of King County's free tax preparation campaign and other programs that benefit our area. When the current member of King County Council is not at a United Way tax site, she's elsewhere in the community, from discussing food insecurity to third graders at Chautauqua Elementary School on Vashon Island, to standing with librarians at the University of Washington amid their contract negotiations, to leading support for King County government's major housing developments in her district and beyond. Teresa did the same as an at-large member of Seattle City Council during a period in which the city seated 3 mayors in 5 years. This year, as Seattle City Council and King County Council seat a new mayor and county executive respectively in the same calendar year for the first time since 2010, Teresa is currently the only elected leader who has served on both councils. She's been there as both councils have worked to address issues such as affordable housing, homelessness, food insecurity, and economic inequality. As a member of Seattle City Council, Teresa helped double the investments in affordable housing, and as a member of King County Council, she secured funding to stabilize rent for thousands of families and advance first-time home ownership programs. As Seattle and King County have become focal points amid the nation's anti-immigrant climate and the deaths of American citizens at the hands of customs enforcement officials have sparked protests nationwide, Teresa recently sponsored a county motion that calls upon U.S. Congress to implement guardrails around the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and immigration enforcement agents. King County Council unanimously approved the motion, which comes as Congress debates a Department of Homeland Security funding bill. Teresa was part of a contingent of representatives in jurisdictions nationwide that have called on FIFA to ensure that Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, or ICE officials, have no place around arenas and other venues during this year's Men's World Cup. And she's touted the county's Senior Property Tax Assistance Program, which offers tax reductions to some residents 61 years and older or disabled veterans with a service-connected disability. Hourglass recently sat down with Teresa to discuss topics such as the current local political landscape and what gives her hope during our nation's current political climate. We begin our discussion focusing on the County Council's Homeland Security motion which Teresa and other county officials say is the first of its kind in the nation.
What we have heard from community members, from residents in this county, what we have seen across the country is people calling on their elected officials to act and act with urgency. When we see ICE officials, when we see federal agents who are masked and armed with silencers and lasers on their guns, going into people's homes, ripping people out of their cars, taking kiddos out of schools, everyone wants to know, what is your local government doing to respond and protect the community? Well, we acted with urgency in partnership with Representative Pramila Jayapal's office to make sure that Congress knew we did not want to see one single cent of funding reauthorized for ICE and Department of Homeland Security, especially not without accountability for the actions that they have taken. Killing 2 residents in Minnesota point blank in broad daylight on camera is undeniably an absolute abuse of power. It is illegal, it is unjust, and it demands accountability and action. So in partnership with Congresswoman Jayapal, we passed a motion calling on Congress to put tight restrictions on Department of Homeland Security and explicitly saying that we need to end the lawlessness that is being imposed on our communities by ICE. There's 3 things that the motion did. And I should note, this is the first motion of its kind in the entire country. We are hoping that other jurisdictions will follow suit, because no matter if the funding debate ends in the next week or 2 in Congress, we will have a policy discussion that must continue to hold Department of Homeland Security and ICE accountable. So in our motion, we're calling on Congress to first end lawless enforcement by requiring the Department of Homeland Security to actually obtain a warrant signed by a federal judge. It is not a warrant if the ICE agent themselves sign a piece of paper and charge into a home and claim that's a warrant. It is not. The courts have said so as well. So we want that to stop. We want them to stop using masked agents for enforcement. And I thank our state legislative partners who are pursuing a similar policy. We're also asking for Congress to make sure that we reinforce the policy that prohibited ICE agents from going to sensitive locations. And I'm talking about schools, childcares, housing facilities for vulnerable community members, clinics, places of worship. People are fearful to take their kids to the doctor or take their kiddo to school, and that's unacceptable. And finally, the policy asks for an end to the abuses that we're seeing in the for-profit private detention prisons, including right here in Washington State at the Northwest Detention Facility. And we want to make sure that there is the required access to due process for people who are detained, and that we restore bond hearings. Literally anything we can do to rein in the lawlessness that we're seeing, and making sure that there's consequences for these federal agents, mass agents who are using the federally issued weapons and badges to not only arrest people unjustly, but to literally murder people in the streets. That unprovoked violence needs to stop, and we're calling on Congress to do just that. So I'm thankful that my colleagues helped pass it. I'm telling you, unanimous passage. And I had a colleague say out there, this is not a partisan issue. People might think that, if they had a leaning to the center or to the right, that they should walk away from this vote. And he reiterated, this is a humanitarian issue. No matter what your political leaning, what we have seen in the streets is unacceptable, it's unjust, and it's illegal, and it needs to stop.
Now, what responses have you received from the public, private, and philanthropic sectors?
Overwhelming support for the motion that we passed. To see that there is local response to the national footage of people being shot in our streets means that people know that we are next, that this jurisdiction or any jurisdiction could be next. You could be peacefully protesting and calling for accountability, and you could be next if ICE comes to the streets here in King County and uses the type of excessive force and unprovoked violence that we are seeing from our federal government. We've had calls from national organizations like Local Progress who are putting it out as an example to their membership for folks who are at the city level, the county level, even school districts. This is the time for us all to be speaking with one unified voice to show that we're not going to be complicit, we will not be compliant, we will not be silenced, and we will demand action and accountability. And I should also say, this is more than a motion. This action that we took last week follows what we did last year. My colleagues and I, including Councilmember Barron and others, we helped to strengthen our welcoming county policy. We said that no contract dollars from the county should go to any contractor that is going to use those dollars for any type of coordination or enforcement with ICE. And we wanted to make sure that all public places that the county operates has a sign at the window saying, warrants not signed by a federal judge will not be welcomed here, and that we will put in place a private gathering location so that all employees and members of the public have a place to go that is walled off from members of ICE. But, we really need to rein in these actors at the federal level as well.
Okay, lastly on that topic. So this is the year that a lot of the cities in the U.S. will play host to the World Cup, Seattle included. How important is having that kind of language and that kind of statement leading up to that?
It's incredibly important to have that kind of a strength in our position to ensure that all residents' rights will be respected. We are one of the host jurisdictions for the Men's World Cup, as you mentioned, and I just put out a statement the other day in partnership with other jurisdictions across the country who are telling FIFA that they need to strengthen their policies to make it clear that ICE has no place around our arenas, that we want this to be the beautiful game that welcomes our beautiful community of all colors and stripes, and regardless of your race and ethnicity or any personal, identity that you have, you should not be targeted when you go to see the Men's World Cup games. That should be the case for if you're entering an arena or if you're going to one of the host jurisdictions' viewing parties, right? We want people to come to King County, to come to Seattle and enjoy the beautiful weather that we'll have in June and July, to be here for those 6 weeks, to enjoy the World Cup. But we need FIFA to reiterate that this is not going to be a place where ICE can just have access to all of the patrons coming. We also want FIFA to strengthen their commitment to make sure that there is not going to be people swept, that there's no housing shortages, that we strengthen worker protections. FIFA made commitments along those lines when they bid to host the World Cup here in the United States and North America 5 years ago or so now, and we need them to actually follow through. In fact, there's a document that they committed to with the AFL-CIO, like the conglomerate of all unions at the national level, saying that they would uphold labor protections, that they would help ensure labor peace, that they would make sure that there was no human trafficking violations. Well, I want to see the proof, and FIFA themselves need to come to the table to show us what policies they're going to put in place to make sure that that's actionable. Starting in June, it is not the responsibility of the host committee, which is made up of community members and local residents here who are doing the best they can to hold FIFA accountable. It is the responsibility of FIFA to make sure that they uphold the word that they committed to when they bid to host here in the United States.
So this marks the first time since 2009 that we've had a new county executive and a new Seattle mayor in the same calendar year. So for someone who has served on both Seattle City Council and King County Council, what does this period in local politics mean?
Well, I'm very excited about our new Executive Zahalai. He is coming in after, I think 16 years of our previous executive, who we had a lot of alignment with as well. I think what's exciting about seeing Executive Zahalai come into this position is that he really is bringing his lived experience, right? We see immigrants and refugees under attack in this moment. He is the first executive to serve in this position and be an immigrant himself, a refugee himself. And I think a renewed lens on what that means in King County and how we will collectively work with jurisdictions like Seattle and others to make sure that rights are protected is incredibly important in this moment. I'm really thankful that he's pulled together a 12-person policy team to focus on issues like immigration, like labor protections, like housing and zoning and permitting, streamlining. These are things that we have heard from members of the community are desperately needed. And I think a consolidated policy office is a great way to ensure that we don't have silos and that we can act with urgency. I am also thankful that we have, I think, national eyes on Seattle, right? From coast to coast, we saw elected leaders from mayoral seats to executive seats and the county level winning positions because they focused on issues of affordability. The number one issue that I hear from residents in King County, in District 8 specifically, is I cannot afford a home. Or as small business owners, I cannot keep my doors open because I don't have workers who are easily accessible that can get to work and back because people are being pushed so far out of the urban centers, and there's just not affordable housing for workers here. Workforce housing is a paramount issue that I'm excited both Seattle's new mayor, Katie Wilson, and Executive Zahalai will focus on. I'm the chair and here in King County of the Housing Committee, and we are excited to act with urgency with our executive and surrounding mayoral partners to partner on the issue of affordability, starting first with housing and housing access.
So many in the past have touted housing as in, meaning you don't even need to tout, you can just look around, as you just said, talking. What do you think will be different this time?
Well, let me tell you what I think will be different at the county. We have very few revenue tools. As your listeners may know, the county is unfortunately hamstrung by a 23-year-old Tim Eyman initiated initiative that restricts the county's ability to raise revenue beyond 1% of population growth. You can imagine our population has grown much faster than 1%, not to mention the ongoing needs in the community that have really expanded post-COVID, compounding crises, mounting pressure. We are a safety net service here in King County. We provide access to the Vets and Human Services levy, to Best Starts for Kids levy. We have tried to pass levy after levy to help fill the holes where our revenue system cannot keep up. But one of the things that we know is housing needs additional attention. So we have some tools that we want to pull out from what Executive Zahalai initiated last year with the workforce housing requests that he put forward. And one of those is having the county act as a creditor so we can bring more housing online for our nonprofit housing developers, be that sort of bridge lender to put more housing development in place and to get it done faster. The second thing I think we are looking at the county is how we can help issue or use our debt capacity, I should say, to allow for more first-time home ownership options to be built quickly. So it's both about helping nonprofit developers bring on more affordable housing that's largely going to be rental units that we want to bring on, but not studios, not one bedrooms. There's a oversupply of those right now. What we need is 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, so families can actually have a place to live in our region and intergenerational housing as possible. And then with the ability to use our debt capacity in King County, we want to be able to directly fund first-time home ownership options. Both of those, rental housing and first-time home ownership, are so desperately needed. And those will be outcrops of the workforce housing initiative that we were also a partner on and really added amendments specifically focused on first-time home ownership. So that is what I think will be different this next year, is our laser focus on bringing more housing units online from the county.
Right. Talk about some other issues in our community, like food access, food insecurity, childcare, and education access.
Absolutely. Food access, childcare, access to healthcare, all of these are social determinants of health, right? If you don't have affordable and accessible healthy food, your health is compromised. If you don't have access to childcare, you're more stressed about whether you can go to work or not. The mental health, the physical stress that it puts on your body to not have access to affordable, accessible childcare is truly a social determinant of health. And then you have healthcare directly, which we are seeing under attack at the federal level. The federal changes imposed in the big bad bill, not the big beautiful bill, the big bad bill last year, will mean that right here in King County, over 214,000 residents in King County are potentially going to lose their healthcare through Medicaid starting next year. I think that the county has a huge opportunity to play in helping get people connected to services. We will continue to fight to make sure that people have access to high-quality childcare by supporting the payments that go to childcare providers and some of the legislative strategies that are underway right now in our state legislature. We will continue to do direct investments in food banks and food security. For example, our office funded every single food bank in District 8 last year with our Councilmatic grants. Unfortunately, it's a drop in the bucket of what they actually need. And we'll continue to fight the Kroger mergers that we're seeing that are trying to merge Kroger and Albertsons. That will result in not only people losing their jobs, it will result in more grocery stores shutting down, especially in high-need areas. It will create more food deserts and increase food insecurity. So we are party to the efforts to try to prevent that type of merger. And lastly, we will continue to fight to keep our public health clinics open, especially with 214,000 people in King County who are slated to potentially lose their health care if we cannot reverse the big bad bill in Congress. We need to keep those public health clinics open. We do that by investing in frontline workers like our public health nurses and healthcare providers. And we do that by investing in preventative care as well through public health services. So that is the collective social determinative health patchwork system that we will focus on. But we cannot let residents think that the county can step in at full cost to where the federal government has stepped back. There is just no way. So that is why we need everyone to keep the pressure on Congress and the federal administration to reverse those terrible decisions that they are making and the conditionalities tied to federal dollars that we have relied on for decades.
I'm going to go back to that in a second, but I want to touch on the fact that United Way of King County, we recently launched our free tax preparation campaign, and we are so happy that you have been a supporter. You were a supporter at the city council. You continue to be, and we appreciate your support. What are some other services in this county that people should know about to make their hard-earned money go further?
Well, first, I want to say thank you to United Way of King County for the free tax prep. I happened to be visiting the White Center Library one day, and your whole team was in there helping people do their tax preparations. And especially right now with so much fear about the federal government, I think it's so helpful to have a trusted community partner in United Way of King County to help people with their tax preparations. And you also helped people last year know about the rebates that the state legislature authorized, which many people didn't know about, maybe continue to not know about. So do get your taxes turned in. It is a requirement under federal law, but there's also potential help there from the state that United Way can help you navigate. I would also remind people that we have a senior property tax assistance program. We put some information in our Teresa Tuesday newsletters. Those go out every other Tuesday. And I'll make sure that your members have a link to that senior property tax assistance program. We know that, again, because of this Tim Eyman-initiated initiative 23 years ago, we have asked a lot of the residents of King County to help pay for needed services, and that comes in the form of property taxes because it's one of our only tools. Thus, why we are fighting for progressive revenue tools and asking the legislature to give King County these local progressive revenue tool options so we don't have to keep going back to just property tax or sales tax. In the meantime, we want all residents to know that there is a senior property tax relief link that we can send around. And there's also the ability to have additional home weatherization support. So if homeowners are feeling additional draft from their old windows or a leaky roof, we want to help people stay in their home and also make sure that they're healthy when they do so. So we'll also make sure that people get that link. But there's a weatherization support program as well that Seattle has offered, and we want to make sure people are getting enrolled in that type of program.
Touching back to reaching out to your lawmakers, I always tell people when I was a journalist, one of the biggest things I always work to do is to keep people from saying, how come nobody ever told me, right? And so when you look at some of the legislation passed, you wonder if people knew.
Yeah.
How can people stay informed? And what kind of conversations are delegations having at the federal, state, and county level?
Well, one, we want to make sure folks can reach out to us anytime if they have a question. So if you have a phone or an email, please call us. You can email me directly, Teresa.Mosqueda, Mosqueda, @kingcounty.gov. I personally look at all these emails, and our team helps field the responses. We have Aaron House, Chris Lampkin, Camila Brown, Melanie Cray on our team. And we definitely do case management and try to get people connected to various departments or programs that might assist them. The second thing is we are so interested in making sure that trusted community partners have the resources that they need. So we're constantly putting out information in our newsletter about grants and opportunities for both individuals and organizations to get into programs and connected with resources, funding that can actually assist them in these moments. We are thankful that, for example, Congresswoman Jayapal is hosting regular town hall meetings, not just giving people access to tools for how to get connected to services, but I think giving people access to the tools for how to navigate an increasingly growing authoritarian regime at the federal level that is encroaching on fascist regime as well. People have written to Congresswoman Jayapal to say, they felt hopeless and they felt they were without a action or a to-do list in this moment. And in partnership with her office, we continue to encourage people to attend these regular town hall forums that she's having to give people tools and the language to help describe and explain to neighbors, to community members, how they're engaging and resisting and how they're fighting back. And honestly, it is an antidote to the hopelessness feeling. So that's another way I think that people can stay engaged and feel connected to how we are resisting the federal attacks in this moment.
I always ask you.
They're called resistance labs. I'm so sorry. Let me just get that out there. Congresswoman Jayapal's town hall forums are called resistance labs, and they're open to every member of the public. There's both a virtual option and in-person option.
Awesome. I asked you this previously when we had a podcast, and I ended with that, and want to do it again with everything that's going on right now. And we know that there's so much. What gives you hope?
Oh, well, my daughter's in kindergarten now. She is 6 years old, and she is so inquisitive, and she's so smart, and her teacher is brilliant and amazing, and we thank him for all that he's doing. She went into kindergarten, and within weeks, she started reading, and she's now sounding out the words and sentences and writing her own version of her own books with her very adorable spelling. But it gives me hope to see her and just know that we are fighting not just for, a future generation, but we're fighting for the kiddos who want security and stability in school and to be free from intimidation in those arenas. We're fighting for the seniors who want to be able to keep their homes and feel safe and secure in the places that they grew up and to fight displacement as well. We're fighting for the families right now who are literally fearful for their lives. And I think we have this sense of collective action right now. We're seeing people take to the streets, whether it's in Minneapolis and in the freezing snow or here in Seattle and King County when it's pouring rain down, to speak out and to speak up about what's happening. And that really does give me hope that we will fight back and we will be able to resist what's being imposed on us from the federal government. And we are that last line of defense. And I see us growing stronger every day. And in partnership with the state legislature, I'm hopeful we'll have the revenue tools to respond with urgency.
Thank you so much, Teresa Mosqueda, Councilwoman King County. Really appreciate your time.
I always appreciate your time. And thanks to the entire team at United Way of King County and you for bringing this to your listeners.
For more information about Teresa's work in King County and resources to benefit county residents, log on to the King County government page, kingcounty.gov, and scroll down to King County Council. United Way of King County's Emerging Leaders 365 is hosting a Young Professionals Coffee Connect on February 22nd at Boon Boona Coffee in Renton, beginning at 1 p.m. Emerging Leaders 365 is a group of young adults who are passionate about engaging in a year of impact to support their neighbors. Emerging Leaders commit to giving $1 a day or $365 a year, then come together to roll up their sleeves at volunteer projects and connect with like-minded residents at issue-focused events. The February 22nd event allows young professionals to come together, discuss ways to support small Black-owned businesses during Black History Month, and enjoy fresh brewed coffee. For more information, log on to uwkc.org/events. World Relief Western Washington of Kent is looking for volunteers to work in its Paradise Parking Plots community garden. Paradise Parking Plots is a 2-acre garden that provides spaces for refugee, immigrant, and Kent residents to grow cultural foods and reconnect with the soil. World Relief will train volunteers to do tasks such as weeding its food forest, controlling pets and diseases, and taking part in construction projects. For more information, log on to worldrelief.org/Western-WA and click on the Get Involved page. At United Way of King County, we are working side by side with communities to build an equitable future for everyone. Hourglass United Way is a podcast that highlights how we and our partners spend time making a difference in our communities. Our work is made possible by the generous donations from people like you. Please send comments and suggestions about our podcast to hourglassunitedway@gmail.com. To learn more about our work or to support United Way, log on to uwkc.org. I'm your host, Joe Burris. Thanks for listening. Until next time.